In the capital, the emperor is sitting on his chair. He looks very angry because he got news that Prince Alceste is heading to the capital. That wretched boy is coming back here alive, the emperor said while pounding his fist on the chair. Don't get worked up, whispered the devil. Don't get worked up. What have you been doing all this time? Shouted the emperor to the devil. Why would you ask me that? You're the one who calls your son here yourself, said the devil. Do you want to tell me that you had no choice? That's all an excuse, the devil said again. Wasn't he just part of your lingering attachment to Sylvia, he added. Hearing the woman's name mentioned, the emperor yelled at the devil to tell him to shut up. Did you ever plan to kill him from the start? It seemed to me you lacked determination, said the devil to the emperor. That's what I like to ask, the emperor replied to devil. That's because the devil has been watching Prince Alceste for almost 20 years but has not done anything. What are you talking about, Aiden? Said the demon. He said why should he help him? He and the emperor are not bound by contract. Is there a reason I should grant your filthy wish? He said to the emperor. If anything in this world is filthy and horrible, it's you, Jekyll, shouted the emperor to the devil. Of course I enjoy the ugly side of human, Jekyll said while laughing. Jekyll finally showed himself. Apparently the emperor and Jekyll have been working together all this time. You haven't forgotten, have you? Jekyll said to the emperor. Jekyll reminded the emperor, because of his greedy attitude that brought them together. In the past, there was a girl named Sylvia. The woman was very beautiful. Sylvia's beauty made the emperor fall in love with her. However, fate did not bring them together. Sylvia had someone she loved. But the emperor did not give up. He kidnapped Sylvia. Sylvia cried and begged to be released. She had already promised to marry someone. As of today, you will possess the country and this palace. Your name will be praised by the people and recorded in history, the emperor said that as if he didn't listen to Sylvia's appeal earlier. Are you saying a promise you made to a childhood friend is more important than all this glory? Said the emperor while grabbing Sylvia's neck. Sylvia while crying begged the emperor not to kill her lover. Of course, his life depends on your actions, he said to Sylvia. The emperor wanted to say something but stopped when he saw the seal on Sylvia's neck. This can't be, my will is the will of God, he shouted. Those who rebel against me will be put to death, said the emperor. The emperor captured Sylvia's lover. The emperor wanted to kill the man, so he slandered him by saying that he had made a deal with the devil. After the death of Sylvia's lover, the emperor managed to get Sylvia for him. He felt that everything was going well and there was nothing he couldn't get in his life. However, even so, he still did not succeed in capturing Sylvia's heart. Because of that, when he saw the baby in front of him, he wanted to kill the baby. The emperor tried to approach the baby, but was stopped by Sylvia's screams calling him to stop. Get away from my son, Sylvia shouted as she approached the emperor. Seeing Sylvia looking at him like that, the emperor became so angry. The emperor grabbed Sylvia's neck and told Sylvia to stop looking at him like that. I gave you everything, but you and your seal ruined all of it, the emperor said to Sylvia. Remembering that incident, the emperor cried, remembering his actions. That's right, you killed her. You were happy as you slowly crushed that soul in your hand, Jekyll tried to remind the emperor. The emperor fell down remembering his past. He cried while calling Sylvia name. Suddenly the door opened and Prince Alceste appeared. Meanwhile, at Duke Tia's residence. After receiving a letter from Asef, Duke Tia rushed out to meet Asef who had just arrived. Duke Tia was so shocked to see Alyssa lifeless being carried by Asef. He asked Asef how that could happen to his daughter. I just can't believe this, he said. I'm sorry, there was nothing I could do. Before Asef could finish his words, Duke Tia suddenly slapped him. Everyone there was shocked to see Duke Tia's actions. Elsie approached Duke Tia to calm him down. However, Duke Tia ignored Elsie and asked to be released. You swore to protect my children with your life. Didn't you boast with that wretched mouth of yours that you could do anything? he shouted to Asef. Asef was silent without answering Duke Tiaga. He felt a pain near his cheek. Duke Tiaga, without saying a lot, held Alyssa while cursing Prince Alceste, who was not there at the time. I don't know what to say. The prince left for the palace and said he'll come as soon the sun rises, Asef said to Duke Tiaga. However, the duke shouted, calling him to be quiet. I never trust you again, nor will I leave my children in your care. Duke Tiaga said that while leaving the place because he didn't want to see Asef again. Then Elsie also left with Saya on Duke Tiath's order. Asef could only look at Elsie walking away while holding his sore cheek slapped by Duke Tiaga. While in the capital at that time, seeing the arrival of Prince Alceste made the emperor remember the past events. At that time, the young Prince Alceste appealed to him. Why are you exiling me? I'm your son, he said to the emperor at that time. However, the emperor did not considering him as his son. You're nothing but disgusting vomit, said the emperor to Alceste. Go die in a place I cannot see you, he added. Prince Alceste, who was still young, could only cry and could not do anything then. And now the same person had returned, and that caused the emperor to feel threatened with his position. I sent you away to die, but you came back alive, Alceste, said the emperor with a cold look. Jekyll whispered to the emperor to remind him that he had to kill Prince Alceste. He was born to take your power, wealth and honor from you. That is the price for you, sin, Jekyll said to the emperor. Prince Alceste reached into his pocket and took out a dagger and threw it towards the emperor. This is Ludwig, he sold his soul to the devil, did you know about it? Prince Alceste asked the emperor. The emperor pretended not to know Alceste's question. He asked if that was the reason why Ludwig was killed. A person who has sold his soul to the devil must be executed on the spot. Prince Alceste said he was only following the law. I guess you've grown a lot, for you to mention law to me, said the emperor indifferently to Prince Alceste. I asked you if you know anything about this, your majesty, said Prince Alceste with a cold look. For a moment the atmosphere became quiet and tense in that room. This rudeness and insolence must have become a habit of yours while living out there, said the emperor to Alceste. Prince Alceste replied that he was as polite as possible. If you feel I'm being rude to you, that's probably due to your own feelings, he replied to the emperor. Don't kid yourself, even if you're grown up, you're still a bird in a cage, said the emperor while clicking his tongue as a sign of displeasure with Prince Alceste. Prince Alceste asked if the emperor didn't want to know what happened to Ludwig. Emperor sighed, why should I be curious about him? You and he are both nothing more than my pet birds, he said to Prince Alceste. Don't worry, I can always replace you, he added. Prince Alceste was shocked to hear the emperor's words. This means that he will also be killed when the time comes. He looked at the emperor with a cold look, holding back his anger. That blasted look in your eyes is just like you, mother. The emperor really doesn't like that look. Don't mistake me for a child longing for love forever. I'm no longer swayed by you, said Prince Alceste, then left that place. Meanwhile, at Duke Tiath's residence, Alyssa, who was unconscious, woke up from her sleep. Father is back all right? She shouted to Duke Tiaga. Shoo, Elsie said to Alyssa not to raise her voice. My gosh, father, I don't know you were good at acting, said Elsie, who thought his father was really angry with Asef at that time. Duke Tiaga said that Asef had explained the truth in the letter. You were so cool, especially when you slapped Lord Randall in the face, said Alyssa. Elsie stared at Alyssa because of her words. I wanted to beat them for once though, those thieves, Duke Tiaga thought in his mind. Asef, who was still outside Duke Tiath's residence, stared inside of the residence while holding his sore cheek. It was late at night. Saya helped Alyssa to sleep. After Alyssa slept, she slowly left the room. Outside the room, Saya was greeted by Elsie, who was waiting for her. Saya, I know you that risked your life for this. I'm forever grateful, said Elsie to Saya. Of course I would do this, you don't need to thank me, said Saya in response to Elsie's hug. Saya then sent Elsie to her room. After reaching Elsie's room, Saya said good night to Elsie and left. Elsie then went inside. She was so happy because now Saya will not come to her room again. She then began looking for the diary she wrote. Elsie hoped that she can find a clue in it. Elsie tried to find the diary in the drawer but couldn't find it. "What are you looking for?" said Asef, who suddenly appeared from behind Elsie. The sudden arrival of Asef made Elsie scream in surprise. "How did you get here?" said Elsie in a daze. Asef said if he entered through the window. "Picking lock is piece of cake," said Asef while pointing his finger. Elsie brushed away Asef's hand and told him not to use his power at will. "She seems to be treating me like Alyssa," thought Asef while making a grumpy face. "Don't make it sound like this is trivial. Being away from you for few hours is harder for me," said Asef while holding Elsie's waist. Elsie looked at Asef and asked, "How is your cheek? Is it all right?" asked Elsie to Asef. "It didn't just hurt. It was supposed to be an act, but he hit me with all his might just like you did earlier," answered Asef to Elsie while channeling the mana in his hand, causing Elsie to feel cold. "If you make a face like that, I want me to tease you again," said Asef, then kissed Elsie. That night Asef wanted to sleep there with Elsie, however, Elsie rejected him because he was embarrassed. But Asef did not give in. "Let's sleep together, I'll help you fall asleep," he said to Elsie. However, Elsie found it difficult to sleep because she had not found the diary yet. Asef wondered what made Elsie look so anxious. "Don't keep your eyes open like that, get some rest, you're tired." Asef tried to help Elsie to sleep in his arms. At first Elsie tried to resist not to sleep, but because Asef continued to channel his mana, Elsie felt comfortable and started to feel sleepy. Soon Elsie finally fell asleep. The next morning, Asef came out of Elsie's room and went to the yard. That morning Prince Alceste came with his horse. Prince Alceste got off the horse and approached Asef. "I didn't expect to see you out here, did you not get any sleep?" Prince Alceste said to Asef. "Well, not because I was waiting for you," Asef replied to Prince Alceste. Asef then asked how Prince Alceste felt after meeting the Emperor after 20 years. "You didn't go there and vent to him, did you?" Asef asked Prince Alceste. Prince Alceste told Asef what he found when he met the Emperor. "I didn't see or hear anything, but could feel it. His room is reeked of Jekyll, said Prince Alceste to Asef. That morning, Asef, Duke Tiada and Prince Alceste met to discuss their plan. "The stench of the devil, huh," said Duke Tiada. "But you're the only one who can sense it, not even priest would pick up on it. We can't use that as proof," he added. Prince Alceste understands Duke Tiada's worries, but now they know who the Emperor is working with. And he's sure the Emperor can't hide himself forever. "I don't this standoff will last long," said Prince Alceste. "You're right, soon, the people in the capital will know about the poisoning of Lady Alyssa," Asef said. "If that happens, then Prince Alceste will have to show his seal to the public to threaten the Emperor. While we're on the subject, why don't the prince and I stay here for a while?" said Asef to Duke Tiada. "Do you want to make it that obvious?" answered Duke Tiada to Asef. Asef said that they don't need to hide. It looks more natural if they are there than to go to the palace and leave the poisoned fiancé behind. Asef says that he will order his men to guard the place. "Of course, we need Duke Tiada permission," said Asef. Duke Tiada is silent, thinking about Asef's proposal. Asef thinks if Duke Tiada agrees, then he can spend his time together with Elsie, thinking that makes Asef smile. "I'm sure the accommodations here aren't as comfortable as the palace, but I think that would be the best," said Duke Tiada. Hearing that, Prince Alceste asked for permission to go check on Alyssa. "Even though we're in the same place, she can leave her room or walk around," said Prince Alceste. Asef also didn't want to miss out. He also asked for permission to go check on Elsie. "I haven't seen her since yesterday, so I like to see if she had a good morning," said Asef, then left with Prince Alceste. "I feel like I've been fooled," Duke Tiada thought in his mind after seeing them leave in a hurry. Meanwhile, after searching in her room and still not finding the diary, Elsie turned to the study room to look for it. But it's not that easy to find it. Some time later Elsie finally found the diary. Elsie was so happy to find the diary, but suddenly Asef appeared from behind and grabbed the diary. "Asef, when did you arrive?" said Elsie, surprised by Asef's arrival. Elsie stood up trying to grab the diary from Asef, but it was difficult for Elsie because Asef was taller. Of all times he could showed up, why now, thought Elsie in her mind. Asef looked at the diary and realized that the writing inside was the same as the contents of the letter that Almur brought at that time. Elsie looked at Asef. She knew that Asef could not read it, but she felt embarrassed if people read her diary. "Zay, there's a repeated word here," Asef said while pointing to the word. Elsie's face turned red from embarrassment. Elsie quickly grabbed the diary from Asef. "It's very bad to read other people's diary." Elsie was angry with Asef. Asef apologized for not realizing that it was a diary. "I guess you've written my name down quite a lot," said Asef, realizing that there were many similar words in the diary. "Oh my gosh," Elsie said when she heard Asef's cringe words. Asef tried to persuade Elsie to show what was written in the diary, but Elsie was determined not to show it to Asef because she was ashamed. Asef kissed Elsie on the cheek. "I wouldn't know even I read it, so why are you embarrassed about it?" Asef said to Elsie. Asef said that he only wants to learn that language, so he wants Elsie to teach him. "I like learning different languages," Asef pleaded with Elsie to teach him. Imagined himself teaching Asef. Elsie found it very fun. Elsie agreed to teach him, but she didn't want Asef to read her diary. Asef agreed to Elsie's condition. He then kissed Elsie. But Asef has a purpose. The purpose of him learning the language is to be able to understand Elsie even better. The next day, Asef started learning the language taught by Elsie. He enjoyed learning the language because it was easy for him to understand. "Ahem," his assistant whispered, calling Asef, who was busy writing. "Ah, right, if you're done, you may go home," he said to his assistant. "It's not that, the Duke has been waiting for you for a long time," his assistant whispered. Asef quickly turned to look at Duke Tiada. He almost forgot that he had a plan with Duke Tiada that day. Duke Tiada says to take it easy. He will wait until Asef finishes his work. "No, I was just about to go out," said Asef with a feeling of guilt for making Duke Tiada wait. As Asef and Duke Tiada walked through the crowd, they began to hear people's whispers about rumors about Elissa. "You know about Duke Tiada's second daughter being paralyzed by the root of Anisha," said one of the people who was there. "I guess word has gotten around the palace," whispered Asef to Duke Tiada. "Yes, the seal hunting stopped that day, but the fear of the unknown must have caused the rumors to grow," answered Duke Tiada to Asef. "There you are, I was waiting for you," said Prince Alceste, seeing the arrival of Asef and Duke Tiada. Prince Alceste told them that he wanted to say something. The three of them were on their way home by carriage. Prince Alceste handed a letter to Duke Tiada. "Is this letter from the Emperor himself?" said Duke Tiada after opening the letter. Prince Alceste nodded, indicating that Duke Tiada was right. "I'm getting a headache even before reading it," said Duke Tiada while sighing. After reading the contents of the letter, Asef did not believe what he read. "He wanted you to attend the main assembly tomorrow?" he said to Prince Alceste. "Yes, as you know, that meeting determines the most important matters in the empire." Prince Alceste said that he had to attend the meeting with a high-ranking noble. Duke Tiada doesn't know what the emperor is thinking. Even Prince Ludwig couldn't attend that meeting, he said. "I'm confused myself," said Prince Alceste. "This is because calling him to the meeting means that the emperor recognizes him as a prince in front of a high-ranking noble. Maybe he's trying to keep the three of us occupied at the assembly in order to give Jekyll Ion the chance to act freely," Asef thought. Duke Tiada thought whatever the emperor's purpose was, he felt it was a bad thing for the three of them. Even so, they had to follow the order. They began to worry about what the emperor was planning. "We won't gain anything by worrying. If we want to catch a tiger, we have to go to its den. This may be a chance for us to kill two birds with one stone," Asef said to both of them. Prince Alceste and Duke Tiada nodded in agreement with Asef's proposal. Not long after, they arrived at Duke Tiath's residence. Asef tried to be the best son-in-law by helping Duke Tiada get off the carriage. Asef smiled because he was happy to catch Duke Tiath's attention. Because they arrived late unlike usual, we should eat right away, said Asef to the two of them. Duke Tiada looked at Prince Alceste, wanting to hear his opinion. I'm going to Lissa's room first, I'll eat there with her, said Prince Alceste, then left. Don't be upset, he's being considerate of Lady Alyssa, since she hasn't been able to leave her room all day, said Asef to Duke Tiada. Even so, he could have been more considerate of how you feel, only being able to see your daughter's face when she's asleep, he added. Duke Tiada is grateful to Asef. As a matter of fact, I've been feeling like I might be coming between them, said Duke Tiada. It's alright, I'll go up and get Elsie, said Asef to Duke Tiada. Aspe knocked on the door, then went inside calling Elsie. Elsie, who was taking a shower, told Asef to wait. Asef tells Elsie that he would be waiting downstairs. Asef was about to leave the room, however, stopped when he saw Elsie's diary lying on the table. Asef tried to see what was written, but he was surprised to read what was written inside the diary. Wow, you got all of them right, Elsie praised Asef for successfully solving the questions prepared by her. However, Asef was silent in thought, as if he didn't hear Elsie. Elsie looked at Asef with concern. Usually Asef must have smiled happily if Elsie praised him. What up? Is something bothering you? Elsie asked Asef. She wants Asef to tell her if there is anything that worries him. Asef was silent for a moment, then he spoke. You said that you used to dream about me, is that your gift? Asef asked Elsie. To be specific, dreaming isn't my gift, but it's part of it, answered Elsie to Asef. Asef was silent. He began to remember Elsie's words at that time, as Elsie said at that time. She saw and dreamed bad things. Why didn't I ever suspect her gift? Asef thought, then asked about the dream she had. The reason you know about the fire that broke out at my house when I was young and the Duke was involved in that incident, asked Asef to Elsie. The paper in Elsie's hand dropped due to surprise. She didn't know how Asef knew that. Looking at Elsie, who was surprised, Asef asked Elsie to tell him what really happened. The secret she kept all this time, Elsie had to tell Asef. Elsie told Asef that she started dreaming of Asef when Asef was 5 years old and 10 years old. For over a year, you were in my dreams every night. Elsie told Asef that she saw the life that Asef had lived. Asef was surprised to hear Elsie's explanation. You saw the life that I lived? Those terrible and miserable things? Asef was at a loss for words. He didn't expect Elsie to see his sad past. I'm sorry, I know that you never wanted to show anyone what you went through, and I know how miserable and terrible those memories are, said Elsie to Asef. From the moment we first met, you knew everything about? Asef shuddered to hold back his sadness. Asef didn't think that all this time Elsie knew what Asef was trying to do. Did you know that I tried to use you? And that I tried to kill you? Asef said to Elsie. You know the kind I am, you know how filthy and terrible I am. Asef shouted, unable to control his emotions. Of all the people, Elsie is the only person he does not want to know about his past. Asef, don't say that. You're not filthy at all, Elsie said to Asef, then approached him. I thought it was weird that I felt so at ease with you. While you were being tormented by that nightmare every night, those sick hallucinations that haunted me suddenly disappeared. Asef knelt to hold back his grief. He confessed his guilt for causing Elsie to suffer. Elsie tells Asef to calm down. She scolds Asef for not listening to her words. I'm sorry, Zay, I thought I loved you. I thought you were the most precious thing in the world. But I ruined you to the point that I cannot forgive myself, said Asef while kneeling to apologize to Elsie. Elsie hugged Asef to calm him down. It's because I miss you so much that, I missed you so dearly that I wanted to see you in my dreams at least, Elsie said to Asef. I always wanted to be with you, I wanted to kneel down and hold your hand, so don't push me away now, Elsie said again. I'm not going anywhere, even if you want me to. I'm leaving you behind, she added. I love you, Elsie said, promise to love Asef forever. She then hugs and kisses Asef. The next day, Central Conference Hall. Prince Alceste's presence at the meeting made the nobles wonder. This is because the emperor never invited Prince Ludwig to attend the meeting at all. I don't know, maybe he's planning to pass down the crown to him, said one of the nobles. Don't jump to conclusions, they're unlike any other father and son. He banished him when he was 5 years old and never once called him here for over 20 years, answered one of the nobles. Not long after the emperor appeared, he said, "May the blessings of Primessa with you," he said, then sat down. Then the agenda for today's assembly, before the minister could speak, he was stopped by the emperor. "Wait, I have something to say before that," said the emperor, then called Prince Alceste forward. "You must have had a lot on your mind before coming here," he said. "I am just honored by your grace, your majesty," answered Prince Alceste to the emperor. The emperor told Prince Alceste why he called him there. His purpose of calling Prince Alceste was because he heard rumors. Especially, the rumors about the daughter of Duke Tiaga, Elissa Tiaga, he said to Prince Alceste. "Your Majesty." Duke Tiaga shouted to the emperor after hearing his daughter name mentioned. "Right, it will be faster if I just ask the Duke directly," he said, then asked Duke Tiaga if it was true that his daughter was poisoned. "It's true that my daughter is ill. However, I do not understand why you're mentioning this in public," replied Duke Tiaga to the emperor. "Come to think of it, you have a bad habit of being protective of your daughters in front of me," said the emperor, ignoring Duke Tiaga's question. Seeing the emperor ignoring his question made Duke Tiaga angry. Then the emperor asked again. "Then what about the rumors? I heard you're living with your 2 future son-in-law. It would seem that is Marquis Randall and my son," the emperor asked the duke. The emperor asked Prince Alceste if it's true or not that he has a seal. Alceste looked at the emperor. He thought if that was the only reason the emperor called him, then he took off his gloves and showed the seal he had. The people were surprised to see the seal. Suddenly the emperor stood up. "You must feel devastated that your destined mate is poisoned," said the emperor. "Although it's hard for me to bear, I'm trying to my best to take it well," replied Prince Alceste to the emperor calmly. However, the emperor did not agree with Prince Alceste's decision. "I cannot let the only remaining prince marry a woman whose limbs are paralyzed," he said. "I suppose I could permit her to be my concubine, considering what happens to her," he said again while looking at Duke Tiaga with a sarcastic look. Hearing the emperor say that, Duke Tiaga tried to control his anger. "What are you saying?" shouted Prince Alceste to the emperor. He didn't think that the emperor would think such a disgusting thing, and it was against God's law. The emperor is not afraid of the curse. She has been reduced to larva without even the ability to squirm. She will be bedridden for the rest of her life. "What can you do?" asked the emperor to Prince Alceste. "Do you want me to beg like a dog to sorcerer who poisoned her, or should I beg to you?" replied Prince Alceste with an angry face. "What did you say?" said the emperor and slapped Prince Alceste's face because he felt he was disrespected. "Your Majesty, although you have been separated, he is still your son," said Alceste, who went forward to try to calm the emperor. However, the emperor did not listen to that and instead took the candle holder and hit Alceste on the head. "You don't deserve to be here," said the emperor. The incident was seen by everyone who was there. The emperor called the guards to drive away Alceste and the prince. But the prince said lazily, "That's not necessary, we'll leave on our own," he said while taking Alceste out of the room. After that incident, Prince Alceste and Alceste started a plan to bring down the emperor. Prince Alceste along with Angela and Huey were heading to the emperor's palace. At that time, the emperor was not there, so Alceste took this opportunity to find evidence that could bring down the emperor. Prince Alceste was just about to enter the emperor room but was stopped by the guard who was there. "How dare you stop me?" said Prince Alceste to the guard. "I'm here under His Majesty's orders, are you disobeying him?" he added. However, the guards did not believe Prince Alceste because they did not hear the order from the emperor. "Your Highness, leave them to us, you should go," said Angela to Prince Alceste. But Prince Alceste stopped them. The guard was just following orders from the emperor. He didn't want anyone to get hurt. "Your Highness, please stop. We cannot overlook what you're doing anymore," said one of the guards. But Prince Alceste ignored the guard. He then created a barrier using his mana. The barrier was so strong that the guards couldn't do anything. Prince Alceste and the twins entered the emperor's room. Prince Alceste covered his nose because the room was full of the smell of the devil's traces. Prince Alceste was very sensitive if he smelled the devil's traces. Angela called Prince Alceste. "There's a secret passageway behind this wall," she said. Angela pushed the wall. After opening it, they went downstairs. Meanwhile, Jekyll Ion was looking for victims but did not see any human beings. "Everyone go, not just the people, but the smell of their seals," he said. "I've been expecting you," said Asef, who appeared from behind while taking off his outer shirt ready to fight Jekyll Ion. When Jekyll Ion called his name, Asef felt happy. "I'm glad you remember me. I've been dying to see you as well," he said. "This is quite unlike you. Are you trying to stall for time?" said Jekyll Ion to Asef. "I guess you don't remember what I said. I made it clear that I would kill you when you came here with your body," Asef said, and then attacked Jekyll Ion. However, the attack was easily blocked by Jekyll Ion. "This kind of trick doesn't work on me anymore," Jekyll Ion said while grinning. Asef tried to stand up. He felt that Jekyll Ion was stronger than before. Jekyll Ion attacked Asef continuously. Jekyllion's attack was so strong that it was hard for Asef to hold back. "You're all bark but no bite," Jekyll Ion said, then attacked Asef quickly. Asef tried to resist the attack, but Jekyllion's attack was so strong that Asef's sword was destroyed. Seeing Asef's sword destroyed, Jekyll Ion took the opportunity to attack Asef with a strong punch, causing Asef to be thrown backwards. Jekyll Ion didn't want to kill Asef because he didn't have a seal. He was only attracted to Elsie. He wanted to kill Elsie in front of Asef. He said that while laughing, thinking of Asef filled with anger. "It will play out just like it did in those other live," he said. "Curse you, what the heck are you saying?" said Asef, who didn't understand what Jekyll Ion said. "Don't tell me you don't know," said Jekyll Ion. Then he told Asef what happened. "Elsie Tiada has lost her life in front of you many times already." Jekyll Ion said happily. He told Asef that he killed Elsie every time in front of Asef. "Do you want to know?" he said. He told Asef, "If you like, I can show you," he said. Suddenly, Asef found himself in a place he didn't recognize. The place was engulfed in flames. In front of him, Asef saw Elsie. Elsie turned and said, "Asef, I love you. I'll always be with you. So please don't forget that. I hope you're loved in your next life," Elsie said. That then a big rock suddenly fell from the sky. Asef ran and called Elsie to avoid the rock. However, the rock fell quickly and hit Elsie, crushing her body. Seeing Elsie's shattered body, Asef screamed, mixed with sadness and pain, holding back his emotions. Suddenly Jekyllion's voice was heard and a black seal appeared. "Do you know who caused her to cry out in pain and suffering? Her talent was always used for your sake," he said to Asef. Jekyll Ion offered Asef to accept the seal. With that seal, Asef will be free from all the sadness and pain he experienced. "Don't you get it? I'm trying to help you," said Jekyll Ion to Asef. Meanwhile, at Duke Tyeth's residence, Elsie stood up suddenly. He got a very bad feeling that something was going to happen. Elissa tried to calm Elsie. "Don't worry, he's safe. Even the prince said we'll be safe here," she said to Elsie. But Elsie felt something bad was going to happen. She looked for a horse and went to find Asef. Meanwhile, Asef, who was trapped by Jekyllion's mind, managed to escape by piercing Jekyllion's eyes. This time Asef promised not to make Elsie suffer again. Asef was determined to kill Jekyll Ion. He stood up and attacked Jekyll Ion continuously, but it was not that easy. Even though Jekyll Ion was injured, even so, Asef still couldn't defeat him. "Beg for your life. Beg and cry like you've always done before," Jekyll Ion said while stomping on Asef's head. "If you don't want to, I'll do it myself. I'll corrupt your soul and make you belong to me with this seal," Jekyll Ion said while showing the seal to Asef. Asef, who was helpless, just wanted to see Elsie for the last time. Before Jekyll Ion could put the seal on Asef, he was stopped by Elsie's voice from behind calling him to stop. Seeing Elsie arrival, Jekyll Ion was so happy because he didn't have to look for her anymore. Asef tried to get up, trying to stop Elsie from approaching. "I'll gladly rip you apart and eat you with that seal," said Jekyll, ready to attack Elsie. Elsie, without preparation, could only pray to Goddess Primessa to protect her soul. Elsie opened his eyes when she realized that the attack did not hit her. Apparently Asef blocked the attack using his body. "No!" yelled Elsie, seeing Asef blocked the attack. Asef turned and told Elsie, "Don't die for someone like me again," he said. Jekyll was so angry because his attack didn't succeed in killing Elsie. Suddenly, the sword that pierced Asef was covered in aura green mixed with ice. The sword broke and Jekyll's hand froze. Asef pulled the sword from his chest. He took the opportunity to attack Jekyll. Asef used the excess of the sword to attack Jekyll and managed to cut Jekyll's body in two. Asef used his mana to freeze Jekyll's body and attack him continuously. "Damn it! This is impossible," Jekyll said for the last time before Asef killed him. Due to using his mana continuously, Asef losing a lot of his energy made him fall unconscious. Meanwhile, Prince Alceste, Huey and Angela, who were in the basement, found something horrible. In the basement, they found many human skeletons and some kind of devil cult. "Stop! How dare you come here?" shouted the Emperor, who just came with his guards. Seeing the Emperor made Prince Alceste feel disgusted. The Emperor shouted and called his guards to arrest Prince Alceste. But Asef did not move from there. "You should give up now. If you have eyes, look what the Emperor has done," he said to the guards. The guards obeyed Prince Alceste's orders and sided with him. Prince Alceste drew his sword and ordered the Emperor to surrender. "You're done for," he said to the Emperor. Somewhere, Asef woke up and saw Goddess Primessa in front of him. "This is Sanctuary of Death," said Goddess Primessa. "You may not remember it, but with your life, you saved a life to change fate," she added. Goddess Primessa was happy. She didn't have to worry again because Asef's blood regained its integrity again. "I don't understand what you mean," said Asef to Goddess Primessa. "My child, seals always come in pairs, but you could not have one as a consequence of being consumed by the devil," answered Goddess Primessa to Asef. "But a child who possessed your seal all on her own, repeatedly saved you life," she added. "Because Asef's soul has been saved, his fated partner will now return to him again. Now, go back where you belong," said Goddess Primessa as she opened the gate for Asef to return. Not long after, Asef woke up from his fainting. In front of him, he saw Elsie, who was crying, then hugged her. 2 days later, in the corridor connected to the palace jail, Asef and Prince Alceste were walking together towards the prison where the Emperor was locked up. Prince Alceste looked at Asef. He was amazed that Asef recovered quickly despite being seriously injured. "Guess it's blessing from the Goddess Primessa," said Asef happily. Prince Alceste looked at Asef in wonder. Within 2 days, he became completely different person, he thought in his mind. Seeing the arrival of Asef and Prince Alceste, the Emperor screams to be released. "You're wrong if you think everything will end the way you want, Alceste," the Emperor screams to the prince. The Emperor tries to threaten the prince with the root of Anisha. "Do you know who has the antidote for that?" he said. "Antidote? Don't tell me you still believe that lie." "No one was poisoned in the first place," answered Prince Alceste to the Emperor. He told the Emperor that it was just a rumor spread by them. "Thanks to that, it was even easier than we expected to catch that bastard Jekyll," he added. The Emperor was so surprised because the only person who could help him was now gone. "We're not here to listen to your complaints," said Asef as he approached the Emperor. "Sophia Lindell," Asef said his mother's name. He wanted the Emperor to answer if he recognized the name. The Emperor was shocked and remembered an incident in the past. At that time, the Emperor, who was passing by a house, saw a beautiful woman who resembled Sylvia. Then the Emperor ordered his assistant to buy the woman. At that moment the life of Asef's family began to fall apart. Remembering that and looking at Asef, the Emperor laughed because he did not think that the woman's son was still alive. "You must be that lowly woman's son. Is that why you conspired to get your revenge against me?" asked the Emperor to Asef. That's all I needed. I don't need revenge. I just hope you suffer in this dark cell alone for the rest of your life, said Asef to the emperor. Asef turned and told Prince Alceste that he was done with his purpose of coming there. No one will ever come to see you again. Farewell, said Prince Alceste, then left the prison with Asef. In another place, Elsie was seen praying in front of the statue of goddess Primessa. After praying, Elsie tried to leave the place but stopped when he heard Asef's voice. When did you get here? Said Elsie while heading towards Asef. Asef looked at the statue of goddess Primessa and said he wanted to say something. He thought that was the right place. Asef knelt down and took out a ring that was the same color as Elsie's eyes. Zay, you have been always my first, Asef said to Elsie. Elsie was the first woman he loved. The first person who saved him, and you're the first person to be the only one for me. Will you be with me forever? Asked Asef to Elsie. Elsie is so happy with the proposal. Of course she will accept it because she loves Asef so much. Asef moved closer to Elsie, then they kissed in front of the statue of goddess Primessa. At that moment, Asef was really happy because he was finally able to be together with Elsie. 1 year later, at Asef's residence. That morning Asef woke up then kissed Elsie's hand. Did you sleep well? Said Asef when he saw Elsie wake up from her sleep. Asef hugged Elsie and asked, Are you still sleepy? Shall we sleep more? He said to Elsie. Elsie felt comfortable in Asef's arms. However, they had to wake up because that day their family would have lunch together. Asef calls Elsie to wake up because their bath is ready. Asef takes off his robes. Asef's strong body makes Elsie close her eyes. Hold on, said Elsie shyly looking at Asef's body. Why are you getting undressed? Asked Elsie to Asef. I need to if I'm going to take a bathe. I can't get in with my robe on, answered Asef to Elsie. Even if you pretend you don't see anything, I know you did, teased Asef to Elsie. No, I don't see anything, answered Elsie with a red face holding back shame. Asef then carried Elsie to go take a shower together. Alright, I'll help you take your clothes off, teased Asef. Finished showering, they both went to attend the lunch. I think we're late, they must be hungry, what do we do? Said Elsie who just got off the carriage. We're already late anyway, so let's take our time, answered Asef relaxed. Their family, who cares, he added, then walked to take Elsie to where they were eating. Asef looked at Elsie who was smiling happily. What lovely weather, it smell nice too. Elsie smiled enjoying the weather. How the emperor doing? You two seem to be getting along well, asked Elsie to Asef because lately they often meet each other. Ugh, no way, answered Asef to Elsie's question. No? But you guys always hang out together. Also, you always take His Majesty's side, Elsie asked Asef again. Asef smiled and said that it was a safe option. After all, now they are a family. Elsie was happy to hear Asef answer. It's true, now they become one big family. From a distance, Elissa waved and called Elsie. Lissa. Be careful, it's dangerous to run like that, said Alceste to Elissa. The Empress is the same as ever, said Asef when he saw that Elissa was still energetic even though she now became an empress. They finally got together as a family. They ate happily accompanied by happy laughter. Your Majesty, I heard you're busy today. I hope we're not taking up too much of your time today, said Elsie to Alceste. Geez, don't even say that, I haven't seen him go to sleep in ages, Elissa said while showing the black circles in Alceste's eyes. He seems so arrogant in front of me, but I guess she's got him wrapped around his finger. Asef smiled looking at the couple in front of him. Anyway, we wanted to see you all because we have an important announcement to make, said Alceste while holding Elissa's stomach. Duke Tiamathe stood happily. Are saying what I think you're saying? He asked Alceste. Duke Tiamathe's guess was true. Elissa is pregnant. They were late to tell him because they're also not sure if Elissa is really pregnant. Oh my goodness, Lissa, you're going to be a mom, Elsie said happily. Elsie congratulated Elissa on the good news. Thanks, it still doesn't feel real, but I'm going to be a mom soon, Elissa said happily. Congratulations from the bottom of my heart, Your Majesty, Elsie said to Alceste. Alceste was happy to hear that. He also congratulated to Asef because soon he will be a grandfather. Congratulations, a child is the greatest joy. I'm so proud of you, Duke Tiago said while holding Alyssa's hand happily. Your Majesty, congratulations, that's great news. I know you've been running away from your duties often, using the excuse that your wife feels lonely. Maybe now you can focus on work a little more, teased Asef to Alceste. That's misunderstanding, I wasn't avoiding my duties, answered Alceste, that was really for Alyssa. Sure it was, answered Asef with a teasing tone to Alceste. Then the room was filled with the sound of their laughter. Isn't it fantastic? Alyssa going to stay at our father house for a little while, Elsie said to Asef. With Alyssa's arrival, at least Duke Tiago won't feel alone. I should visit them too, and make clothes for the baby, Elsie asked Asef for permission. Of course, you can do whatever you want, Asef replied to Elsie. Anyway, I want to make one right away too, said Asef to Elsie while reaching for Elsie's shoulder. Make what? You mean the baby clothes? Elsie replied to Asef. She pretended not to understand what Asef meant. Another year later. On the 9th day in the 818th year of the Empire of Varsi. A new spring began again. Asef and Elsie finally had a baby on their own. The baby name is Flintias, meaning, the blessing of spring. This story made up of the endless whisper of everlasting spring.